Section B, Item 3 and 4. During a prolonged dry season in Queen Elizabeth National Park, wildlife researchers monitored herds of buffaloes and antelopes living near areas frequently affected by bushfires and tourist vehicle congestion. Some animals were repeatedly exposed to smoke containing carbon monoxide, while others spent long periods under intense heat searching for water and mates during the breeding season. As the season progressed, several animals became weak, dehydrated, and less active. Male animals also showed increased aggression and repeated courtship behavior during the breeding period. Further investigations showed increased breathing rates, frequent movement between territories, and reduced feeding activity among many animals. Pause and analyze the data table. Blood oxygen and water decreased, testosterone and breathing rate increased, feeding rate decreased. In the scenario, we have bushfires, prolonged dry season, and reproductive behavior. Task. Part A. Analyze how reduced blood oxygen saturation, reduced blood water content, and increased testosterone activity contributed to weakness, dehydration, and increased reproductive behavior among the wild animals. Part B. Evaluate the effectiveness of increased breathing rate, movement to water sources, and territorial behavior in maintaining survival and reproductive success among the wild animals. Analysis: what happened, why it happened, and how it happened mechanism. Reduced blood oxygen saturation resulted from exposure to smoke containing carbon monoxide from bushfires and vehicle congestion. Carbon monoxide combined strongly with hemoglobin to form carboxyhemoglobin, reducing oxygen transport in blood. Less oxygen reached respiring tissues, reducing aerobic respiration and ATP production in the mitochondria. This caused weakness, reduced activity, low feeding rate, and poor survival during the dry season. Another concept: what, why, and how. Reduced blood water content resulted from prolonged exposure to excess heat and movement in search of water. High temperature increased water loss through evaporation and panting, reducing blood volume and increasing solute concentration in body fluids. This reduced transport of nutrients and oxygen and lowered efficiency of metabolic reactions. The animals became dehydrated, weak, less active, and less able to feed normally. Another concept: what, why, and how. Increased testosterone activity resulted from the onset of the breeding season, which stimulated reproductive behavior in male animals. Increased testosterone promoted aggression, territorial behavior, courtship displays, and competition for mates. These activities increased movement and energy demand, raising the rate of cellular respiration and reducing time spent feeding. This contributed to reduced feeding rate, exhaustion, and repeated reproductive behavior. Evaluation. We are going to evaluate the effectiveness or implications of physiological responses to sustain life. The first response was increased breathing rate. Increased breathing rate increases ventilation of the lungs, allowing more oxygen to enter the blood and more carbon dioxide to be removed. This supports aerobic respiration and ATP production during stress caused by smoke exposure and movement. This helps compensate for reduced oxygen supply. However, it may increase water loss from respiratory surfaces, worsening dehydration during hot, dry conditions. Therefore, the response is useful for oxygen supply, but risky when water is limited. The second response was movement to water sources. Movement to water sources allows animals to replace water lost through evaporation and panting. This restores blood water content, maintains blood volume, and supports transport of nutrients, gases, and wastes. Its strength is that it directly reduces dehydration and improves survival in excess heat. Its weakness is that long-distance movement uses energy and may expose animals to predators or competition at water points. Therefore, the response is effective because it maintains osmoregulation and survival. The third response was territorial behavior. Territorial behavior helps male animals defend mating areas and gain access to females during the breeding season. Increased testosterone supports aggression and courtship, improving chances of reproduction and passing genes to offspring. It increases reproductive success. However, it increases energy use, injuries, and reduces feeding time. Therefore, the behavior is useful for reproduction, but may reduce survival if food and water are scarce.